Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
And check out that eye, that's exactly what we want to see. Woo, look at that panel, baby. And that, as they say, is that. How's it going, all you minties? Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. Join me today for my overview of Iyanu, Child of Wonder Library Edition Volume 1 from Dark Horse Comics. Let's find out what the source material for the animation is. And welcome back, everybody. Before going any further, a big thank you to the folks at Dark Horse for sending us a copy of this library edition. Now, this is the latest library edition, and it's also the latest young adult library edition book. We've had releases of Avatar, and now we have Iyanu, Child of Wonder. As a matter of fact, here are the credits: Roye Okupe, Godwin, Akpan, and Chima, Kalu. And then, of course, our main protagonist here, the Child of Wonder, Library Edition Volume 1, collecting Iyanu graphic novels 1 and 2, so it tells you immediately what it collects. Now as an animated series from Cartoon Network and Max. Is it still Max? I think it went back to HBO. I can't keep up. They may need to update that. Dark Horse logo, Iyanu, Child of Wonder, the number 1, Okupe, Akpan, Kalu. There she is again, Library Edition Volume 1, and Dark Horse down there. The back of the book does have a quote from Roye Okupe. It's one of my proudest achievements, coming up with this young adult title that features a very young teenage girl doing big things, and having a female heroine at that. Really anyone can identify with. And that's true. That's why I love young adult comics, graphic novels. I love the fact that you can identify with any of these characters. A little bit about what the story is. The Dark Horse logo, Unique Studios, who of course Roye Okupe is a huge part of. ISBN. And it does say general, so I assume that's their young adult version. Retail price, $49.99. Doesn't have a dust jacket, it's just art on board. No slipcase. And also, one more thing to note is that this right here, it's not a sticker, it's actually on the book. Maybe they did that with the Avatar library editions. Iyanu right here is a little bit, has a glossy finish, while everything else has a has a glossy finish to it. Now, if you're not familiar with the sizes of these library editions, here it is compared to the size of a standard size trade paperback to kind of give you an idea of how much taller and longer it is compared to the trade paperback, which is the trim size of a comic book. All right, let's go ahead and open this up, talk about the type of stories you're going to find in here, and look at the artwork and the extras, and then, of course, the build. Alright, let's go ahead and get this library edition open. By the way, I have been wanting to read this since 2021 when Dark Horse started bringing the trade paperbacks over. Just that cover alone. I was doing the upcoming collected editions, and I can't remember what month, but I do remember it was around 2021, and I was like, oh, what is that book about? I just love that cover. And here are your credits. Creator and writer Roye Okupe, cover, chapter breaks, and art for chapters 1 through 5, and colors for chapters 6 through 12. Godwin Akpan, pencils and inks for chapters 6 through 12. Chima, Kalu, and then letters by Spoof Animation. There's the Unique Studios and Dark Horse logo. And collecting the 2 graphic novels, the first 2, like I think there are 5 of them, but please correct me if I'm wrong, or at least 5 of them so far. And this is our main cover right there. But I want to say these are other characters from Roye Okupe and Unique Studios. The book itself has 256 pages, and again, retails for $49.99. There is a wonderful introduction here just about how far Okupe has come in the last 10 years, how it went from one particular comic called EXO, The Legend of Well Williams Part 1, to other works, and then bringing a bunch of Nigerian comics over to the world. It's really cool, and then now having his own animation. So if you're watching it, let me know. So it starts off in Ilu, a long time ago, the forest region, where we meet our protagonist, Iyanu. It's pretty quiet, but you can see that she decides not to kill and hunt this deer. Could be a deer, could be another creature, we will see. And she decides not to kill the deer because it has a fawn. So she lets it live because she understands that life must keep going, that you can't just kill a mom that is still feeding the child, because then the child will grow up without a mother. And there's a lot to it just within those pages about what kind of character she is. Very forgiving and loving kid. So she is a little kid. This is one of my favorite things about the book, is that it goes into cultures I'm not really familiar with. I really like that about stories like this, because it incorporates Yoruban language and translations. So when the kids are making fun of her... So, okay, really quick, this is Iyanu. She goes into the village of Iyu, which is behind this border, and the kids are picking on her, and they keep calling her Forest Girl, and she cries. She cries back home, and then you realize, oh, she's got, like, lightning powers. What is happening? You can see her arms light up, and she herself maybe doesn't know what's happening. Now, you think that she is running back home to her mother, but she's not. This is really cute. So this is what I meant. This is like actually translating certain words like good evening and welcome. But this is who Iyanu comes and sees. And this is the character of Olori. She's kind of like the wise woman. She's very skilled and like a warrior woman who has been living outside of the city walls of Elu. And as you find out, she found Iyanu about 5 years ago, or when she was 5 years old. So there's a whole mystery as to who Iyanu is and why the character of Olori has kept her away from the city of Elu. But being a kid, she wanders into the city from time to time, and then she's complaining to her, I guess her mother figure, Olori, that the kids were making fun of her. And it's just, cute little things that kids do, except also mean things that kids do because they're jerks. And then we see a whole council here inside the royal palace in the inner walls, and they're discussing what to do with certain people. So you see that there's like almost, I guess in a way, without spoiling too much about the book, is that there is an imbalance in the way that people are being treated. And they're trying to decide what to do exactly with certain elements that are coming into play. And they keep mentioning something called the corruption. But we will see that here in a little bit. So we see that Iyanu is in training here. And they're talking about... This is the really cool way of doing the world building here. They keep talking about the history of Yorubaland. And then we get little things like here in between the chapter breaks, which is the map of Elu, and you're going to see where the forest is and where her and Olori live, and then, of course, the inner city walls. And as you keep reading, there's little chapter breaks here that kind of teach you more and more about the world and the lifestyles and the language and some of the myths, because a lot of this is based on the myth and legends from this certain area. And it's just really cool to see that and learn, at least for me. I love learning about new myths and legends from all over the world. And it's one that I'm not particularly, honestly, I'm trying to think outside of some of the things I've read in mainstream comics. I don't think I've read independent comics from Nigeria. They give you maps, which I love. Ever since the original Legend of Zelda, I've been a big fan of maps. That's how I see the world, and my wife makes fun of me. Yeah, believe it or not, I thought everybody saw the world like an overhead map. Yeah, that's not the case. Found out later on in my adult life that not a lot of people do that. So, anyway, as it turns out, the council comes in and they find out about her. So she runs. She runs away from Olori. Olori is arrested because she has been keeping this child a secret. And it turns out that this child could be the chosen child. Let me just forward a little bit. And now she is alone without her mother. And she ends up meeting this character right here in the first part of the book. So the first half of the book. And this is B.E. And they become friends. Like, she's not really been friends with any other kids. And now she's trying to get her mother back. By the time you get to the second part of the book, or what is called Volume 2, you do start seeing an expansion and more characters coming into Iyanu's life. and training, and people teaching her about just the meditation that can pay off later on with her abilities. And I'm not really sure how the anime, no, I called it an anime, I'm sorry, how the animation does it. It does have that Avatar feel to it, like that anime American animation. Because it's a little bit slow at first, because it's introducing you to a lot of elements or powers, the world, and it does a lot of world building, and there's a lot of meanings between the council. As a matter of fact, there's almost a power struggle within the council itself, while they're talking about the corruption. But Elu's king ends up dying, so it kind of sets in motion a power play between the king's chancellor, Noru, and Noru is the one that wants to eliminate Iyanu and Olori, because it turns out that perhaps Iyanu, she's the chosen one, could be the one to bring peace between not just the people, but the corruption. So the corruption, it's really cool, that's what they call it, is when animals are being possessed and turning them evil and making them go and kill and hunt down humans. And it also makes their meat inedible, like you cannot eat it. So apparently she might have the power within her to take the corruption away from the animals and kind of bring peace to the whole land. So in the second book, or the second part of this, we do meet some new characters while still focusing on the characters of Olori and the character of course, Iyanu. But it keeps going back and forth. I think there's a really good balance between the new characters that we're introduced to as the world keeps building, because Elu is not the only city in this particular land. They're apparently the people of the deep. Now, the second story arc is done by another artist. You can see the differences here. But don't worry, it's still our Akpan doing the colors here too. Kind of bringing it all together. Now, in the very back, we do have some, there we go, legends right here, and actual timelines. And then we get some of the original art and how it's kind of broken up. I want to say this was an original web series. Here's the other comics from Unique Studios. And then the end sheets. So let's look at the binding. Maybe it was originally published as a web series, but regardless, Dark Horse decided to bring it out. Oh, I'm sorry. It is sewn binding. Bring it out in a physical format. And now in a library edition. And printed in this really thick, glossy paper stock that they are famous for doing in their library editions. But that's what Iyanu is. That's what the artwork looks like. And that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this library edition, don't forget to check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget, the CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this library edition. Let me know in the comments down below if you had picked up the trade paperbacks, or if you've never heard of Iyanu, and this is your first time hearing about it, and it's caught your interest because of the artwork, or just the pitch of the story. And then, of course, if you're a fan of the animation, and that's what brought you here. Yes, it's actually based on graphic novels from Nigeria, and of course translated here in America by Dark Horse Comics. If you have any questions, leave them down below. What other library editions would you like to see collected from Dark Horse Comics? Stay healthy and safe out there, everyone. Much love.